It was a chilly Halloween night, and the streets were alive with children in costumes, going door to door, collecting their sweet treasures. I was a 16-year-old boy named Mark, and this Halloween was supposed to be just like any other, full of laughter and candy. Little did I know that it would turn into a night I would never forget. My friends and I had decided to go trick-or-treating in a nearby neighborhood known for its spooky atmosphere. The houses there were old and decrepit, and there were rumors that they were haunted. But being teenagers, we were convinced that ghosts didn't exist, and we were eager to test our bravery. As we made our way deeper into the neighborhood, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence settled around us. The houses here were all dark, with no signs of life. It was as if the entire neighborhood had been abandoned. I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease creeping up my spine. We approached a particularly sinister-looking house at the end of the street. Its windows were boarded up, and ivy covered the walls, casting strange shadows in the moonlight. My friends dared me to approach the front door, and being the adventurous type, I accepted the challenge. The door creaked open slowly as I pushed it, revealing a dimly lit interior. The air inside was cold and musty, and the smell of decay hung heavy in the air. I took a hesitant step inside, my heart pounding in my chest. My friends stayed close behind me, their nervous laughter filling the air. We explored the first floor, finding nothing but old, rotting furniture and cobwebs. It seemed like any other abandoned house, and I started to relax, thinking that the rumors of hauntings were just stories meant to scare us. But as we made our way upstairs, things took a sinister turn. As we reached the top of the stairs, I felt a sudden drop in temperature. The air grew frigid, and I could see my breath in front of me. My friends and I exchanged nervous glances, but none of us wanted to be the first to suggest leaving. We continued down the hallway, and that's when I saw her. A young girl, no older than 10, standing at the end of the hall. She was dressed in a tattered white dress, and her long, dark hair hung over her face, obscuring her features. My heart skipped a beat, and I could feel the blood drain from my face. I called out to her, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned and disappeared into one of the rooms. I hesitated for a moment before following her into the room, my friends close behind me. But when we entered the room, there was no sign of the girl. The room was empty, and the window was open, allowing the cold wind to whip through. We searched the entire house, but there was no trace of the girl. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. My friends and I were shaken, and we decided it was time to leave. As we made our way back downstairs, the air grew even colder, and the sound of soft whispers filled the air. I could hear my name being whispered, and I turned to see a shadowy figure at the top of the stairs. It was the girl, her hair still covering her face. She beckoned me with a bony finger, and I couldn't resist the compulsion to follow her. I climbed the stairs, my heart pounding in my chest, and when I reached the top, she led me into a room at the end of the hall. The room was freezing, and a sense of dread washed over me. The girl turned to face me, her hair slowly parting to reveal her face. Her eyes were empty voids, and her skin was as pale as death. She opened her mouth to speak, but all that came out was a hollow, otherworldly wail. I stumbled back in terror, but I couldn't tear my eyes away from her. Suddenly, the room was filled with a blinding light, and the girl let out one final bone-chilling scream before vanishing into thin air. My friends rushed into the room, finding me trembling on the floor. We left the house in a hurry, the events of that night forever etched into our memories. We never went back to that neighborhood, and we never spoke of the girl again. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she had shown me something beyond the realm of the living, something that I was never meant to see. To this day, I can't explain what happened that Halloween night. Was it a ghost, a demon, or something else entirely? All I know is that I'll never forget the terror I felt in that haunted house, and the chilling encounter with the girl who should not have been. It was Halloween night, and the crisp autumn air sent a shiver down my spine as I walked alone through the dimly lit streets of our small town. The moon cast an eerie glow, and the shadows danced menacingly across the pavement. I was on my way to a friend's house for a Halloween party, but little did I know that this night would be unlike any other. As I approached the old, abandoned house at the end of the street, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. It had been empty for as long as I could remember, and rumors had always circulated about it being haunted. Tonight, I was about to find out just how true those rumors were. The party was in full swing by the time I arrived, with the sound of laughter and music spilling out into the night. My friends welcomed me with open arms, and we spent hours indulging in the festivities. As the night grew late, someone suggested that we take part in a Halloween tradition, a visit to the haunted house. Despite my initial apprehension, I agreed, thinking it would be a fun and spooky adventure. Little did I know what horrors awaited us inside. As we approached the decrepit mansion, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence fell over our group. The front door creaked open as if beckoning us inside. Hesitantly, we stepped into the darkness, clutching our flashlights tightly. The interior of the house was like a time capsule from another era. Dust-covered furniture and faded wallpaper adorned the rooms, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling like macabre decorations. The air was heavy with a musty odor, and a chilling draft seemed to follow us as we moved deeper into the house. We explored room after room, our flashlights revealing the long-forgotten remnants of a family's life. Old photographs lay scattered on the floor, and the faint echo of children's laughter seemed to resonate from the walls. The atmosphere grew increasingly oppressive, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. We entered what appeared to be a child's bedroom, complete with a faded crib and worn-out toys. It was here that the true horror of the house revealed itself. As our flashlights swept across the room, we saw a figure standing in the corner, a pale, gaunt child with hollow eyes that seemed to pierce into our souls. A collective gasp escaped our lips as we stumbled backward in terror. The childlike apparition didn't move, but simply stared at us with an unsettling, malevolent gaze. It was a sight that chilled us to our core, and the room grew colder with each passing second. In a panic, we fled the room and rushed back through the house, desperately searching for an exit. But the house seemed to have other plans. The layout shifted and twisted, leading us in circles and trapping us within its nightmarish corridors. The laughter we had heard earlier grew louder, morphing into haunting, maniacal laughter that seemed to emanate from all around us. Shadows danced on the walls, taking on sinister forms that reached out to grab us. Fear gnawed at my heart as I realized that we were not alone in this house. Malevolent spirits from the past tormented us, their tormented souls seeking retribution for some long-forgotten wrong. We were intruders in their domain, and they would stop at nothing to make us pay. Hours passed, although it felt like an eternity. Our group was shattered, our nerves frayed, and our flashlights flickered ominously. Just when it seemed like we would never escape, we stumbled upon a narrow, hidden staircase that led us to the attic. The attic was a gruesome sight. Flickering candles illuminated a circle of symbols drawn on the floor, and the walls were adorned with grotesque paintings of the house's dark history. In the center of the room stood a figure cloaked in tattered robes, chanting incantations in a language we couldn't comprehend. With a collective scream, we turned and fled down the stairs, our footsteps echoing through the house as we made our escape. As we burst through the front door, the malevolent presence seemed to release its grip on us, and the house fell silent once more. We ran back to my friend's house, our hearts pounding and our minds haunted by the horrors we had witnessed. We never spoke of that night again, and the haunted house remained abandoned, its dark secrets hidden from the world. That Halloween night forever changed me, leaving me with a deep sense of dread and a haunting realization that the supernatural world is far more real and terrifying than I had ever imagined. The spirits of the past still lingered in that house, waiting for their next unwitting victims to cross their path. And on that fateful Halloween night, It was us who had become the prey of the malevolent ghosts that haunted the old mansion. As the chill of autumn descended upon the quiet town of Hollowbrook, I found myself drawn to the eerie allure of Halloween night. My curiosity had always led me down dark and winding paths, but little did I know that this particular Halloween would take me on a journey into the realm of the supernatural. It all began when my friend Jake and I decided to spend Halloween night in an abandoned house at the edge of town. The house was infamous among the locals, rumored to be haunted by the restless spirit of a woman who had died there under mysterious circumstances. The stories of strange lights, eerie whispers, and cold gusts of wind had always piqued our interest, and we were determined to uncover the truth. With flashlights in hand and a sense of excitement mingled with fear, we made our way to Hollowbrook House as the moon cast an eerie glow over the town. The old mansion stood tall and foreboding, its crumbling facade a testament to years of neglect. We cautiously approached the entrance, our footsteps echoing in the stillness of the night. The front door creaked open with a spine-tingling groan as we stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the darkness seemed to envelop us like a shroud. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling like spectral drapes, and the once grand chandelier swayed ominously. We explored room after room, our hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. Every creaking floorboard and distant howl of the wind sent shivers down our spines. It was as if the very walls of the house were alive, whispering secrets of the past. But for the first hour, nothing truly unsettling occurred, and we began to wonder if the stories were nothing more than tales spun to scare curious teenagers. As we made our way into what appeared to be the master bedroom, a strange sensation washed over me. It was as if the temperature had dropped suddenly, and an icy breath brushed against the back of my neck. I turned to Jake, but he wore a puzzled expression. "Did you feel that?" I whispered. "Feel what?" he replied, his voice barely audible. Before I could respond, the room plunged into darkness. Our flashlights flickered and died, leaving us in absolute blackness. Panic set in as we fumbled for our phones to use as makeshift torches. When the screens finally illuminated the room, a figure stood at the foot of the bed. It was a woman, her ethereal form glowing with an otherworldly light. She wore a tattered wedding gown, and her eyes, though hollow and empty, seemed to pierce through our souls. Frozen in fear, we could only watch as she slowly raised her bony skeletal hand towards us. The room suddenly filled with a cacophony of voices, a chorus of tortured souls pleading for release. The walls themselves seemed to groan in agony as the very essence of the house came alive. The temperature dropped even further, and we could see our breath in the frigid air. In a desperate bid to escape, we turned and ran, stumbling through the darkened halls, with the anguished cries of the ghostly figures echoing in our ears. But the house seemed to twist and turn, its layout ever-changing, trapping us in a nightmarish labyrinth. I could feel the malevolent presence closing in, its icy grip tightening around us. It whispered promises of eternal torment and whispered secrets of the past that we were never meant to know. The walls bled with crimson stains, and the floors seemed to shift beneath our feet. With every step, the house seemed to become a nightmarish reflection of our fears and regrets. It fed on our terror, manifesting our darkest nightmares as we struggled to find a way out. Hours passed, or perhaps it was an eternity, until we finally stumbled upon the front door. With trembling hands, we burst out into the cold Halloween night, gasping for breath as we left the malevolent presence of Hollowbrook House behind. As we stumbled away from the cursed mansion, we couldn't help but glance back one last time. The house stood in the moonlight, its windows glowing with an eerie, malevolent light. And in that moment, I knew that we had encountered something beyond the realm of the living, something that would haunt our nightmares for the rest of our lives. Halloween had forever changed for Jake and me. We had ventured into the darkness, seeking thrills, but instead, we had come face to face with a horror that defied explanation. The legend of Hollowbrook House was all too real, and its spectral inhabitants would forever haunt the recesses of our minds, a reminder that some mysteries are best left unsolved.